I was dealing with my knee pretty heavily and I wasn't able to do any. I couldn't put any weight on it really Friday. Saturday I was able to do the walkthrough, and then Sunday played in the game and played pretty well too. Had a really good game against the Raiders.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Monster Monday presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Huge Monday. There's been an insane amount of activity since Thursday's show. I am Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years, long time ago. Now I do games for CBS on TV, Westwood One on the radio, Eagles preseason as well, so I'm all over that ball club. And man, oh man, we only do 3 of these shows in the offseason. And since Thursday's show, a lot has happened, so we got to get into that quickly. I will be able to, by the way, announce the winners. Those of you that go the extra mile at the end of today's show. So if you ever do anything, a little extra, whether you're spreading the word via social media at Ross Tucker Pod, or you rate and review the show, take advantage of a sponsor, make a comment on youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Stick around till the end because I will announce the winners. But first, we got my man Terron Armstead, one of the best offensive linemen in the league over the last dozen years. He is seriously contemplating retirement. Thought you guys would really enjoy Terron and I just going back and forth on what he's thinking, the pros and cons. It is not an easy decision, and you guys are basically going to get a chance to hear what's going through a guy's head in real time. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
Second time I've had the pleasure of having one of my favorite offensive linemen in the league over the last 10 plus seasons on the show. Got a chance to meet him last year around this time at the NFL's media workshop. He did an outstanding job there and then had a really good year. I got a chance to call a Dolphins game. He had the most unbelievable, he wasn't even on the field for Friday's practice. He was like in the weight room. I've never even seen that before. So we got to get into that as well. He did a terrific job for the Saints for a long time in the last few years with the Miami Dolphins. Talking about the left tackle, Terron Armstead. Terron, thanks so much for coming on the show again, man. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, Ross. I appreciate you, man. Especially
all right,
with
so
that
we got to start with that, okay? Because I'm calling the Dolphins and the Raiders, whatever week that was, okay? And I'm at practice on Friday, and you're nowhere to be found. And I'm asking the PR guys, I'm like, where's Terron? And they're like, oh, he's in the weight room. So I look in the weight room, and you're doing stuff in there, which I think is really interesting. Obviously, you started 15 games this year. I mean, you started a lot of games. That's as healthy of a season as you've had in a while. So whatever you were doing, it was working. So back in my day, to sound old, a lot of times guys would skip Wednesday and Thursday, but usually the Friday practice, for the most part, they were out there. Every once in a while, they would just do the Saturday walkthrough. Take me through what your routine was this year, and in particular, what you were doing on that Friday.
Yeah. For the most part, I did pretty much every Friday that I played. I was able to start 15 out of 17 games. This year was challenging, man, and I've had my challenges throughout my career dealing with injuries and trying to manage the injuries. The Dolphins were as graceful and gracious as I could ever hope for. They wanted me to be in the most optimal situation possible come Sunday, and whatever I needed to do to reach that point, that's what we did. So a lot of times Wednesday, I really never went out there on a Wednesday. Thursday, I'll probably do walkthrough or maybe, one team period. And then Friday, I would usually do the whole practice. But that week, the Raiders week, I forgot who we played before that week, but I was dealing with my knee pretty heavily and I wasn't able to do any. I couldn't put any weight on it really Friday. Saturday, I was able to do the walkthrough. And then Sunday played in the game and played pretty well too. Had a really good game against the Raiders. Um, so that Friday is really I get in early, get treatment and rehab started before meetings, and then after meetings, when all the guys are getting ready for practice, I'm back in the training room, and then when they go out to practice, I'm in the weight room. So doing a lot of things to get the quad active and all the muscles around the knee active to try to quiet the knee down and the pain that I was dealing with, and no reps at all. Like that week, I took no rep. I never got in my stance that week until Sunday pregame.
That is unbelievable, man. That because I was saying I think they had told us that they thought you would be playing, and then I'm like, he's not out there on Friday. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
if he's going to be playing or not. So that was, as a broadcaster, you kind of want to know who's going to be playing or
for
not
sure,
or
for sure.
whatever. It affects the matchups. It affects what you talk about during the game. So that was interesting. It's
Definitely
funny
not an
too.
ideal situations because that game specifically is Max Crosby. You know what I mean? Like I need to practice. I need the reps. I need to make sure my set's right, my hands right. And the year before we played them, 23, we played the Raiders, and Max was on my side for the first half. So I'm kind of thinking it was going to be the same situation, and I just wasn't able to get the practice in. I probably had Max maybe 10 plays this past season, but that's not an ideal situation. Like no practice, and you got to go up against this monster and Max Crosby.
I think that's a good point, Tron. I want you to expound upon that. Like, no matter how good you are, no matter how talented you are, no matter how long you've been doing it, I, yeah, I think some people probably think, oh, he can just go out there and play. That's still not what you want to do.
No, no, I probably have more experience than most. The majority of NFL players in playing with limited reps or no reps of practice. But I'm a huge practice guy. Like I'm a believer in the fundamentals, the perfecting my craft, doing it over and over and over. Because practice takes the guessing out of it. I don't have to guess where my hands will be or where my set will be or where the body position I'll be in because I've got the reps in over and over and over. So I'm really like that's been a huge part of my entire career. Every Tuesday I'm in and I'm getting hundreds of sets in every Tuesday because I want to know exactly where I am, all that aerial awareness, all of it. I need to practice that. So for me, I had to bank reps and I have to do more film study than a normal week because I don't have the physical reps that I normally have.
I saw recently that you took your contract down to the minimum with the Dolphins right now. Can you explain to me what that is, why that is? I know it has something to do with deciding about your future or taking some more time to think about your future.
Yeah, it was actually a great mutual situation for me and the Dolphins. Like I say, I can't say enough how I feel about the organization and the front office and how they've taken care of me and helped me um, through these past 3 years for sure. So this situation where I was able to take my projected salary down to minimum, it allows the Dolphins right now to use the cap space and get active and improve the team, honestly, which I'm all for it. And then it allows myself some more time to make a decision on what I need to do or want to do because that league year is coming up and they would have to have made a decision. So this just it allows more time for me to make the decision. It allows the Dolphins the flexibility and freedom to go out and do whatever needed to for the betterment of the team. And then ultimately, if I decide, hey, I'm coming back, let's do this thing again in Miami. We have another conversation about the actual contract that I'll be playing on, but we're not there yet.
Um, I don't know that I've ever heard of that or rarely heard of that. I think it's awesome. I mean, you
Yeah,
called it mutual. I think it's awesome on both sides.
for
I mean,
sure, for
I
sure.
wish there was more of this. Like because I think everybody knows like you're not going to play for the minimum if you play. So, but at least
I don't see
it
that.
saves everybody time.
Right, for sure, and yeah, it was great. Actually, Jason Kelsey. It's probably it might go down as the Jason Kelsey deal. Like he did a similar situation for Philly, I think 2 years in a row. So maybe the first year he did it, and then he came back and played and redid his contract. The second time he did it, he ended up hanging it up. So he may be the inventor of this situation.
Wow. I think I knew that, but maybe I forgot. I'll give him the credit for it. I'm sure he would love that. It's called
That's
pulling
my
a
guy right
Jason
there.
Kelsey.
Yeah, that's my dog.
I love it. All right. So it's funny because obviously you're contemplating what you want to do. And I was going to ask you, what are the different factors that go into it? And I am going to ask you that. But hearing you talk about all of the rehab and
Yeah,
all of the things that you have to do to get ready, it's such a shame, man, because that's the part that sucks.
yeah,
That's the part that sucks. And you have to decide, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, you tell me, but you have to decide whether or not you want to go through that again
for
for a
sure.
whole season, right?
For sure. It's Ross. You said it, man. You have to decide. It's a decision that you have to make, and you got to be all. For me, I'm all in, right? If I make the decision, this is what I'm doing. Is no stone unturned. I'm doing it. I'm 6 days a week training. I'm doing everything I need to do to get prepared. And you go through the bumps and bruises of a season. But so at this juncture right now, like you ask yourself, do you want to go through all the pain? Do you want to go through the extra rehab or flying this person in, flying that person in? Do you want to, you know what I mean? Be so locked in with the nutrition, what you putting in your body, all that. So, but if I decide to do it, I'm never going back. I'm not gonna say I'm playing and then get into training camp or get into 2 weeks of the season. Like, nah, I can't. No, that's not me. So if I make that decision, then during this off season, I'm in. You know what I mean? So that's what takes so long. And I'm getting, I'm talking to my kids, my twin girls, they'll be 13 in October. I'm gonna say, pray for me, please, Ross. No joke. My son, he's about to be 8. They're playing sports. So it's a lot of factors that goes into it for sure. And it's such a beautiful game, man. I love it to death. I've been playing for the last 28 years. So it's just really it's my life. It's my life's work. So it's a lot of factors that goes into it, man. That's why I'm trying to be patient with it.
28 years. Dude, I played 18 years of football. I thought that was a lot. 28 is a lot. And by the way, my older daughter turned 13 on Super Bowl Sunday, and you'll appreciate this. I do the Eagles preseason games and stuff. And like 4 or 5 days after the NFC Championship game, okay? Like after we know the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl, she
Yeah.
hasn't said a word, okay? She comes out of dance class. Her dance instructor knows who I am, what I do. And her dance instructor said, "Oh, you should just have your dad take you to the Super Bowl for your birthday." So she gets in the car. She's like, "Daddy, can you please take me to the Super Bowl?" I'm like, "Oh," because I
Oh,
knew at that point, 4 or 5 days later, what that was going to mean in terms of flights or hotels or asking for favors to try to get the tickets. Like I was like, "Ooh, honey, that would have been a really good one, like before the NFC Championship
no,
game,
for
or
real.
maybe right after the NFC Championship game." How about not for? So anyway, we went. Okay, we went. I took the whole family.
Hey,
The
I love
Eagles
it.
killed them. It was great. It was
I
awesome.
love it. I love it. That's great. That is great.
All right, so give me the reasons why you would still play. I think most people can understand the ones why you wouldn't. And
Hmm.
honestly, the older I get and the further removed I am from it, the more I can understand. I looked it up, and I'm not saying this to embarrass you. I'm incredibly proud of you, right? I mean, you've made $115 million, right? Which is just like anybody that watches my show knows, all I want is for every guy to get as much financial security out of the damage they're doing to their body as possible. And you've done a remarkable job of that, right? And all money is good money. And, whatever money you would make this year is wonderful. But I have to imagine that's probably, given how much you've already made, probably pretty low actually on your list of reasons why you would play.
Yeah, I would agree, Ross. If I had to prioritize like the reasons I would go back and put the jersey on, financially, we've done all right. You know what I mean? We've been okay. We've made some smart decisions and been awarded. You know what I mean? So like I said, 28. I'm 33. 28 years straight. Never missed a year playing this game. It's a game that I know inside and out. Every ounce of the game. I know it. I love it. I respect the game. Is that, man, that desire to compete. And for me to be able to play in year 12 the way that I played, especially when I felt like good, not great, but I felt good. It was it I love it. I love the opportunity to compete. I was able to just, some games I felt really good, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm nice. I'm gay. I'm nice. You know what I'm saying? So that part, man, it's fun to find new ways to win. As some certain things are not what they used to be. I'm not 21 anymore. I'm not running 4.7. You know what I mean? So finding new ways to win and new techniques, seeing things. You know what I mean? Just playing the game smarter. It's fun to me. It's fun to me. I get excited about it. Finding things in film study that I can expose that's other people haven't been able to see, real keys and tendencies and things like that. Like, just through experience and paying attention and being a student of the game. I love that. I love that exercise. I do. So, and then the pursuit for a ring, man. Well, I got close. I got really close in New Orleans, and we feel like it was taken away from us. 2018, the no call when they didn't call the pass interference.
Horrible.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. So that piece of void right there will forever exist. So just that pursuit of a championship, that would, stamp everything for me. But yeah, that's definitely those are my reasons.
So I'm only going to say one thing to you, and this is kind of how I look at it now, right? Because you can't always look at it this way, because there's always some level of fear about what life is like afterwards, right?
Right.
So the way I look at it is, on the one hand, you know, especially someone like you, the money they would pay you, and then after taxes, like, how much of a difference is that really going to make in your life, right?
Yeah.
Probably not much. Probably, however, a serious injury or additional wear and tear, that could make a big difference in your
For
life,
sure.
right? Like
For
that
sure.
that could. The flip side is, you'll never feel as alive in your life, and you'll never be able to replicate it, right? So
Yeah.
like, I'll go to high school football games on a Friday night, Teron, and during the national anthem, I'll just, like, my eyes will fill up and I'll be bawling. It's funny because,
Oh
like,
man.
if I would play again, I wouldn't want to play in the NFL. Like, let me go back for a high school game.
Oh, smoke them
Let me go
kids.
back and really do some really
Yeah.
mess some kids up. But in all sincerity, like, that's like, to me, those are the two things I would be weighing more than anything. It's like, once it's over, you never get to do it again. And there's, even whether you're a coach or a broadcaster, I try to do the things that are as close to it as possible. It's not nearly the same, man. Like, I daydream about someone, like, pushing my wife in a bar so that I can, like, smash their head into a wall. Because you just can't, like, probably shouldn't say that on the show, but, like,
Yeah,
you
I
just
get it.
can't,
I
like,
get it.
you can never do that again in your life ever again. Then the flip side is, man, I mean, to go out there, and I see what you guys do now, and,
Yeah.
like, when I see some of the D linemen, I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. Like, I already know
Yeah.
how my body feels, so I wouldn't want to do it. So that, to me, like, that's tough, because those
No, for
two
sure.
things are, like, right smack against each other. But those are the tough. That's the deal. That's what you're trying to figure out.
And that's what's so it's mental gymnastics. And I think you just laid out the perfect illustration of, like, the pros and cons, the back and forth. And it's tough, man. So, some people might get frustrated with, what is he gonna do? Is he coming back? Listen, it's a lot of factors. It's a lot of factors. And if I haven't done anything throughout these last 12 years, I think I've earned a little bit of time. So I'm gonna take it.
You got to check this guy out on social media. No matter how long he plays, he is going to have a bright, bright future when he's done. You can check him out on Twitter at T_Armstead 72. Trust me when I tell you this, okay? He's got a very bright future if he gets into the media. We don't need that, though. I don't need people coming for my jobs that are better looking, better careers, and more well spoken. So I actually think I changed everything I just
Stop,
said
Ross.
before. I think you should play another like 5 to 7.
Hey, come on now.
Hey, thanks so much for coming on, man. Always great to talk with you.
Oh, man. Appreciate you always, Ross. Thank you.
As if I didn't already love the Labatt guys enough, now they're giving you cool stuff for doing what you're going to do anyway. Drink beer. It's called Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt. You just go to their website, snap a photo of your receipt, upload it instantly to rack up points for exclusive merch. You get points for any purchase at any store, bar, stadium, whatever, any size, any product, anywhere you're buying Labatt. It's called Buy Beer, Get Gear. Go to rewards.labattusa.com to sign up.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross, the first bit of news, the Seahawks, they're having a fire sale. They trade Geno Smith to the Raiders for a third-round pick, DK Metcalf to the Steelers for a second-round pick, and Metcalf quickly gets a 5-year, $150 million extension.
Wow. Now, there are reports out there that the Seahawks have significant interest in Sam Darnold. Doesn't sound like he's going back to the Vikings. I don't think that the Seahawks would do this unless they pretty much knew they were going to get Sam Darnold, which is a good reminder here. A lot of conversations have already happened, right? Jack's going to get into all these guys that have re-signed with their teams. They are not doing that unless they have a really good idea of what their market's like from other teams, and they think their best deal is to stay. If they had more money or a better offer elsewhere, they'd be waiting till noon Eastern time today, and it will be laughable how fast there will be reports after noon Eastern time today about guys agreeing to terms with new teams, because frankly, these conversations have been ongoing since the combine. Huge move for the Raiders to get Geno Smith. He is a top half of the league quarterback. I love that for them. And DK Metcalf, wow, from a Steelers standpoint. I really think the Steelers, in part, are doing this to try to entice one of these quarterbacks, Darnold, Fields, whoever, to sign with them. I think DK Metcalf benefited from the Steelers wanting to get a veteran quarterback they believe they can win with.
Another really active team is the Buffalo Bills. They signed Terrell Bernard to a 4-year, $50 million extension. They give Gregory Rousseau a big deal, and they hand Josh Allen a contract with the biggest guarantee in NFL history, and they also have cut Von Miller.
So the Bills are correctly recognizing the cap's going up, up, up every year, and the sooner you lock in your core players, the better off you are, because otherwise you're going to have to hit higher numbers when other guys get deals, including a quarterback with Josh Allen, who's still even in the new money, $55 million per year. That's a deal for the Bills. I know he gets $250 guaranteed, but $55 million a year, that's it's 10% less than Dak Prescott. He is worth every penny. He's the MVP of the league.
Several other big contracts. The Ravens, they re-signed Ronnie Stanley for $20 million a year. The Vikings, they've brought back Aaron Jones. And Davante Adams, he switches teams. He signs in LA as predicted by Greg Cosell.
Well, I think I thought for sure he would stay in LA because he's from out in California with the Chargers or the Rams. I thought maybe the Chargers would make a bigger push for him, but instead it's the Rams. And I think the other interesting thing, Ronnie Stanley, that is a guy taking less. Ronnie Stanley could have gotten more money to go elsewhere. So that is a clear-cut example of a guy taking less to stay with a better team, to stay in a place where he's more comfortable, because there's a couple teams you have to imagine that would have given Ronnie more than $20 million a year.
The Chiefs, they brought back Hollywood Brown on a 1-year deal after fellow wide receiver Xavier Worthy is arrested, although it doesn't appear that charges are going to be pressed.
Right. And I think Hollywood Brown did some positive things for them. We also, by the way, I think the other really noteworthy thing, Jack, I'm going to make it my Labatt Take of the Week, which is brought to you by Labatt. With Labatt, you can buy beer, get gear, go to their website, snap a photo of your receipt, upload it to gain points towards exclusive merch, any size, any product, anywhere you're buying Labatt. Sign up at rewards.labattusa.com. Jimmy Haslam wouldn't meet with Myles Garrett, but then he gives him $40 million per year, including $123.5 million in guaranteed money. Two thoughts on this. Number one, it's the second time in the last few years the Browns have had to way overpay to either get or maintain a star player, Deshaun Watson, Myles Garrett, and more importantly, the Bengals and the Cowboys. What are you guys doing? Why are you waiting? Now they just have to pay Jamar Chase and Micah Parsons way more money than they would have had to if they had signed him before the Max Crosby or Myles Garrett deals. Unfortunately for Bengals and Cowboys fans, your teams, your front offices don't appear to really know what they're doing, and there's really no logic as to why.
Before we move any further, do you have any further thoughts on the whole Trey Hendrickson situation in Cincinnati, speaking of the Bengals?
I do. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the same thing. I mean, he's getting permission to find a trade, and good for him. Think about this. That Myles Garrett deal was a double whammy for the Bengals because, number one, Trey Hendrickson plays the same position, has more sacks the last 2 years. And then number two, Duke Tobin, the GM for the Bengals, for some unknown reason, he said publicly, we're going to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. So now you got to pay him over $40 million a year because you waited this long. Unfortunately, like I said, some of these teams, Jack, just don't know what they're doing.
I don't think we got to it. Did you have any thoughts on the whole Chiefs wide receiver room situation of Hollywood and Xavier Worthy?
Not much. I mean, just the fact that I think Hollywood Brown did some positive things at the end of the year, and it sounds like the Chiefs dodged a major bullet with charges not being pressed against Worthy. Although I will say, I think that probably gave Hollywood Brown a little bit of leverage while he was talking with the Chiefs, right? Like they didn't know what the deal was going to be with Worthy.
There were a lot of tight ends that got re-signed. The Commanders, they inked Zach Ertz. The Bengals, they spent a little money to bring back Mike Gesicki. And the Panthers, they brought back Tommy Tremble.
So what's interesting about that is there's also reports out there that the Eagles might trade Dallas Goedert or that he's available via trade, which is interesting because then you think, okay, well, who would the Eagles replace him with? My guess is that Goedert wants a new deal and that maybe the Eagles are not inclined to give him a new contract. He's entering the last year of his deal.
Mitch Morse announced his retirement, and the Jaguars, they cut a bunch of guys, including tight end Evan Ingram, and they also traded Christian Kirk to the Houston Texans.
Always interesting with those in-division trades. It's not a good free agent market for receivers, right? So that's part of the reason why Davante Adams got the money he got. DK Metcalf got traded and got the money he got. Christian Kirk gets traded. Also why the Commanders did what they did with Deebo Samuel. There's a lot of activity going on. Jaguars and Seahawks, two of the more active teams for sure.
And some of the last big re-signings to note include the Rams bringing back wide receiver Tutu Atwell, the Commanders with linebacker Bobby Wagner, Bucks with their linebacker Levante David, Lions with their linebacker Derek Barnes, the Cardinals bring back edge rusher Baron Browning, Seahawks, they re-signed defensive lineman Jaron Reed, Chiefs, they brought back Nick Bolton, Jets, they re-signed Jamian Sherwood, Seahawks, they bring back Ernest Jones, and the Falcons agreed to an extension with Jake Matthews.
Right, their left tackle. So it's interesting, both tight ends and linebackers, Jack. It feels like almost all of them have already re-signed with their incumbent teams. Those two positions, I don't even know who's left at those two positions because the tight ends I knew that were available are all back with their teams over the weekend. The same with all the linebackers. So I guess those guys have realized that they're going to get more money to stay where they are, or at least as much or close enough. The only guy I think that's clearly taken less money is Ronnie Stanley. I don't know about some of these other guys. Perhaps they have, perhaps they haven't. But very telling, I think, how many of these guys have already re-signed. I think teams are correctly realizing you're better off bringing back guys that you like and are good in your system than kind of rolling the dice with guys from other teams.
And there were some other big name players that were released. That includes Washington Commanders defensive tackle Jonathan Allen, Titans defensive end Harold Landry, who did sign it to Patriots, Raiders center Andre James, and the Texans guard Shaq Mason.
I feel like Jonathan Allen's going to get a decent amount of money. If people realize he was hurt last year, he's still a good player. I think I've said this before, but I'll repeat myself. It makes me kind of sad that the Commanders are finally good, finally have a quarterback, and the guy that's been their stalwart this entire time they were terrible, or at least not good, now he gets cut. Such a bummer for Jonathan Allen. I promised winners, even though we're going a little overtime here, so to speak, I'm giving out winners. Brian Sweeney made a comment on Twitter, at Ross Tucker Pod comment. I saw it, Brian. Sponsor confirmation email winner, David Brennan. He got a story for a loved one from myfrontpagestory.com. That's always going to make you a winner if you get a story for somebody at myfrontpagestory.com. And then the YouTube shout out, Brian Belden had a YouTube comment at youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Reminder, all of you guys need to email me, ross@rosstucker.com, so I know your address to either send the signed press pass or card or picture, or Brian, in your case, you could just let me know who you want the video for. You know what I love about Smirnoff, other than them being an official sponsor of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast and some of the other shows, by the way, all season, and we're still rolling with Smirnoff? It's the fact that you can get good vodka without breaking the bank. That's what they call Smirnoff Extraordinary. Listen, you do not need to spend that much money on vodka, okay? It's vodka. And like I told you guys, Pedialyte, Gatorade Zero, those Gatorade things with the caffeine, what are they called? I do things, I put my vodka with things that are hydrating me while I'm drinking it. It's delicious. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer. May vary by state. Please not share with anyone under legal drinking age. Smirnoff, we do game days. Other than that, I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. You can be a winner in life. You can be a winner on the show if you get a loved one a story from myfrontpagestory.com, backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.